I've noticed that things have definitely slowed down a bit down at the in South Texas, where Elon Musk is building the Starship. They've got SN4, which is the latest completed prototype. SN5 is almost finished. They've stacked it and everything. Just got to put the nose cone on and it'll be ready to go as well. And they're going to have 2 test beds rather than 1, so they're ramping things up. But they did have a static fire test with one of the newest Raptor engines attached, and there was a bit of excess flame coming out the bottom, which could be a sort of a fuel leak, and that slowed things down, so we may not be able to see the first 150 metre hop for some time to come, which is a bit frustrating because I was hoping that would have taken place about a month ago. So things are going a little slower, but he's keeping the workforce going. He's still ramping up production, so that's the beauty. That's what he's doing differently to all the other companies. He's setting up a production line of rockets, prototypes and what have you, so he can just continually test and test and test at an incredible frequency that hasn't been seen before to perfect the technology. And it's a really smart move. And he was, of course, Elon Musk is the guy who's had a bit of a stoush with the Californian government over restrictions because of Corona, and relations there are pretty sour. And I think he's looking at moving house. He's already got operations in other states in America, and so the transition won't be that difficult for him. So he's got a big plant in Fremont in California. Now that's going to be difficult to remove, but he may not decide improving it and expanding stuff there and just go elsewhere for where he's going to be doing new work. So yep, again, it'll be California's loss. So they want to be very careful. You don't want to piss off a guy like Elon Musk. He's the future, present and future. So I wish we had an Elon Musk in this country. We don't have any space research happening, or very little. And when Morrison actually wanted to put 150 million in, a lot of people really got upset online, saying, you know, you can spend the money elsewhere, but we don't spend any anyway. It's a pittance. More roadworks. Getting used to this over here. It's still drizzling. Not good. There was a suggestion made that to the Queensland government that what they could do is set up a special economic zone up here, so we can actually have a tourism area that people can go to. So if people come into the area, they can then travel to other parts of the far north Queensland. It sounds like a pretty smart move. It means if you can get some people into this area from interstate, they'll be able to travel a reasonable distance in this part of the world, which is fairly low risk. So it sounds like a sensible idea, but then again, I don't think governments are very interested in sensible ideas. Definitely noticing a few more people dining out now. I think people just take the opportunity to get out of the place they're living in. But yeah, I've noticed a few people are actually having lunch here, so out in the street. So I guess things are slowly getting better. Oh, well, that was reasonably successful. Got myself the most important thing, the tonic water. Now I've just got to slap on my factor 15 to protect myself from this radiant sunshine that's bathing the area. It's just a summer wonderland. I'll skip by the PJ O'Brien's pub. I don't like my chances. I still think the place will be shut, but there are cafes open, so I suppose we can live in hope. And people are trying to pressure our recalcitrant government to do something about businesses up here, so you never know. One of these days these morons might actually start listening to their constituents. But I'm not going to hold my breath. I think I'll die of lack of oxygen if I did that, waiting for governments to start listening to people. So yeah, doesn't look good. I think PJ's is still closed. The doors are shut. Not a sign of life. Well done, Queensland government, destroying all our pubs. Fabulous. You're doing a great job, Anastasia. I'm sorry, Dr. Young, you're the one in control. Not Anastasia, she's just the puppet. Oh, it's a wonderland, a beautiful day for frolicking in the sun. Kids seem to be enjoying it. Apparently Maya is going to reopen. Not that that means much, because I never shopped there, and I think they're on life support and had nothing to do with coronavirus. They're just a badly run business. But not only that, but apparently Target are apparently cutting out about 70 stores throughout Australia, and that's actually a place I have shopped at, and I wouldn't want to see them go, but you never know, they might be walking as well. It's tough for retail, you know. I mean, I do buy a lot of stuff online myself, so I know I'm not exactly helping the cause, but it is more convenient to buy online. And I even buy things like shoes because they do fit, you know. I know what the size is, and generally speaking it works fine for my sandals and what have you. I haven't had a problem those fitting okay. I bought different brands and they've all been okay. I've never returned an item because it's a real hassle to do that, but you can do it if you really want to, but I haven't tried it. Normally you'd have tables out here with the pub, but of course the number of diners just outside would probably exceed 10, so that just shows how ludicrous it is, because this is a large pub and the one further down is even bigger, so it's just crazy. Morons running the state. So what's new? There is a lot of truth to what Alan Jones says, that government's never been so big and never been so useless. And it is getting bigger, and this coronavirus is really strangling the life out of private enterprise in the country. Apparently over 70% of Australians now are on government welfare. I mean, that's not something you'd want to sustain for very long. It's not a healthy situation at all. And I mean, we've had creeping increases in government for a long time. Palishade's a classic. She's done it. She's been increasing the public service at a rate of knots. Now those are resources that could have gone into private businesses. So it leads to higher taxes. It strangles the productivity because, as we all know, it is the engine of productivity of the private sector, not government. Although I've got to say the healthcare system, they seem to work pretty hard there. Had to use that, and that's been pretty good. So I don't want to paint them with one brush. It's not fair. But there's when it comes to admin and stuff, and there's a lot of BS agencies have been set up that really do bugger all. There's one here for Northern Australian Development Agency, and this is the one where they were playing. What were they doing? They were doing something on they were checking out Facebook in the office all the time because they really didn't have any work. It was in the same building where my body corporate is. So that's an example of these window dressings with these organisations just to make them look as though they're doing something. It's just window dressing though. It's nothing really productive. They were very tardy at giving out any grants for development up here. And of course I don't think one dam ever got the okay, because the Greens would just object to that and say they basically run things from the shadows. It's just not very democratic at all. It's taken a hell of a kick in the rear end of democracy, I think. I had a chat to Johan, who's actually got long-term residence now in Saigon, and for him it's basically back to normal. Number 5 bar is up and running, going strong. He's probably got a hangover today because he probably had a big night there last night. He tends to have big weekends and then go off the booze for the rest of the week. So it's frustrating for me. I just can't even get anywhere near the place, and there's no chance of any international flights for whenever. Maybe I could get a container ship up there or something. I don't know. It's just crazy. I feel like a prisoner. I really want to. I was really hanging out for that trip to go back there in August, but won't even be able to travel interstate by then, the way things are looking with the clown's in control here. So yeah, no, it is. It's I always thought people up there were more rational and than they are here in this country. I think we could learn a few lessons from Asia. They can't afford to stuff around. This is going to hurt us really badly with productivity and what have you. And the Asians are more pragmatic. They'll reduce these barriers and get on with it. And if it flares up again, they'll have to do something about the virus. But they're going to at least roll the dice and have a go. I think that spirit's dead in Australia these days. It's more safety at all costs. So, you know, as I've said many times, there's calculated risk. If you have a smart calculated risk, you can still do things. Life is about taking certain risks. You have to. We could all go into the fetal position and do nothing and spend our lives under the doona, but that ain't living. Although it seems inviting at the moment with the weather the way it is up here. Being in the fetal position of the doona sounds quite sensible. Look at that, it's got to ford this mini swamp. I was watching Bald and Bankrupt, who was back in Belarus, going into the Chernobyl zone again, and moron. He's an entertaining moron though. He takes stupid risks. But he went and saw this babushka, which is an elderly Russian lady, and she bought her a whole lot of food and gifts and what have you. Had to walk a few kilometres through swamps and irradiated forests and stuff like that to get to her house. And apparently she said she was 93 years old, so she's doing all right in spite of the fact she's in a radiation zone. There's a lot of deserted houses around there where people just basically got out when they could because they were freaking out about the radiation in the air and elsewhere. So, but he just went on and she gave him a few dozen eggs, and I'm thinking, well, would you really want to get eggs from the Chernobyl zone? I mean, I don't think that's where I want to get my produce. But he didn't say what he did with those eggs, but he may have thrown them against the wall or something. But she was very generous. You know, it's very much those sort of country people, no matter where you are in the world, you know, sort of like very hospitable. But he does make entertaining videos. He goes to places I wouldn't want to go to, and he may be shortening his life in the process, but you know, he's a big boy, he's middle-aged, he can make up his own mind. He's got himself a young Belarus chick that hangs around with him a lot of the time. She's not going on this latest trip. I don't know what's happened to her. Usually he's partnering up with her and doing sort of pranks and things with her. People want to watch stuff, just watch it. If they don't like it, just switch off. That's the beauty of YouTube. There's so much to choose from. But YouTube may not be around that much longer if the likes of Joe Rogan leave the platform. He's the most popular YouTuber there is, and he's decided to go to another platform called Spotify, and there's a huge amount of money involved, apparently in the hundreds of millions. That's how big he is. And he was an actor. He's in one of my favourite sitcoms, actually. He played an electrician in news radio, and I love that sitcom. It's really one of my all-time favourites. Had what's his name, Hartman. He died. He actually died. He got shot or something. Can't remember. Phil Hartman, very funny man. And Dave Frawley, he's very funny too. Yeah, some really good people. And Stephen Root is another one. He played the owner, Jimmy, of the radio station that was set at. And he's done a lot of stuff. He's a really top line actor. So yeah, great little sitcom. And it went for about 5 seasons, I think. They even continued on after Phil Hartman had died. They substituted John Levitt for his role, who's an okay comedian, not the same level as Phil Hartman. Phil Hartman was unique in that role, but it wasn't a bad replacement. You could do a lot worse, but it's very hard to replace a pivotal character. They did do that with Cheers. They had a character called Coach, and I really didn't watch the first series of Cheers. I got onto that sitcom probably about 2 or 3 series down the track, or at least 3 I'd say, and I was used to watching Woody Harrelson, and Woody Harrelson's done really well for himself. He's done a lot of films since then, and he played Admiral Nimitz in Midway. I can't forget that battle. It's one of the most crucial naval battles in the Second World War. He actually played Admiral Nimitz, and he did a pretty good job, I thought. It wasn't, he couldn't play he'd do his comic stuff. He didn't have that scope. He played it straight, which he had to do. He couldn't exactly be a jokester, but no, it was definitely him, and he was happy to do it. Obviously got paid well for it. So it's good to see people, actors who are versatile. I just got myself another James Wood film recently, and I'm a huge fan of James Wood's work and woodwork. No, that didn't come out well. James Wood, fantastic actor. I think the first thing I saw him in was Salvador. Yeah, it was a great performance. He was actually playing opposite Jim Belushi. He was very good too in it, actually. It's a good film, made a long time ago though. Please consider subscribing to my channel if you think there's anything there of use to you, or entertainment or whatever, and either do that or give me a thumbs up, or if you're feeling really energetic, do both. That'd be great. But please don't ignore me. That's the worst thing you can do on YouTube, is be ignored.